AITA for telling my girlfriend she needs to get a real job and she will never be a famous comedian. 31M, girlfriend's 28. Her and I have been together for 6 years and have been living together for the last 2. Going to attempt to keep this short. GF has always enjoyed doing comedy and has done open mic night since we've met shortly after college. She had a real sales job, and that was Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, where she made decent bucks.
Let's go.
I have a good but hard job and make almost triple what my GF was making when she had hers. I said had because last August she quit her job because it was taking away from her comedy. She told me a year from now she thinks she can really make it. I was a bit skeptical, but since I make enough to support us, I encourage her because I want to be supportive. Since she quit, she began doing Uber and DoorDash, which is where she makes all her money now. Her comedy, $0. Over the past few months, I've started to resent her. Constantly complains she has no money, yet drives her Uber, DD maybe 3 times a week for 4 hours at a time. I've been paying a lot more for household expenses, and I'm not saving as much as I'd like to. She sleeps till noon because sometimes her open mics run real late before she even gets to perform. And when she gets up, she just bums around on TikTok and YouTube looking for inspiration. She also gets very moody with me if I don't come to 90% of her open mics. Even after I worked a 14-hour day, she'll get mad if I don't go to her open mic at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Honey.
Last night, I did the unthinkable. I asked her to consider going back to a full-time job. I said she should still do her comedy, but I'm struggling with taking care of our expenses all by myself. When she gave a dismissive answer, I told her firmly she'll never be a famous comedian. I said she's 28 and it's time to grow the fuck up and join the real world because this is totally unfair to me that I bust my ass while she lives in La La Land. And that she can't be this naive at this age thinking she's going to support herself with this. She stared at me in silence for a few minutes, started crying, and went to stay with a friend. She called me a fucking dickhead asshole, and I'm the worst boyfriend ever. She hasn't answered her phone today. So, AITA.
This is perfect.
Yeah, there's so much going on here.
I love the one detail that really struck me is that this guy works 14-hour shifts sometimes. And then she's like, come to the open mic. We're discussing dating apps and like whatever.
You don't love me.
God. And then like just there's this sort of sleight of hand. I think she's doing it to herself too, to be fair. But like, I'm not going to work a job. But then it's like, no, but you're still going to need money. Now it's like, now you have 2 jobs that are worse. They probably take
significantly
more time
worse
to make equal money.
Yes.
So you're just now living a worse life.
And your open mics aren't till 11 anyway. So why was your 9 to 5 an issue?
That's so late.
Also watch
It's late, but yeah.
This person, there's something about this like that feels like this person doesn't even live in LA or New York.
No, I don't think
This
so.
person's like in
Right.
Detroit and they're like, if I just keep going to the open mic, something will happen. You're like, yeah, you're going to get killed at the open mic by a mentally deranged person. That's what's going to happen.
Didn't that happen? Didn't someone
I
die
mean,
in
once a
something?
year. Like, but
No.
in small comedy scenes, yeah.
Really?
Here, yeah, something fucked up happened. A lady got hit, but by a local maniac.
We actually covered that.
Yeah.
podcast,
But
yeah.
that happens like every month in the rest of the
Really? An
comedy
open
community.
mic death, Radu? You stand behind that?
Not death, no, but like some sort of weird assault or some sort of
my
fucked
God.
up
I'm
thing.
sure assault all the time.
Yeah,
Because
that
I'm
open
talking
mic-
about a
Surprising.
death. Or
A death, yeah, I
shooting.
guess, the death
I feel like there was a shooting a couple years ago. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But anyway,
Wow.
I think this one's interesting because, you know, we're all kind of creative and artists. And
comedians.
I'm going to sound Republican here, but I do think, you know, I guess let me say this before I get too Republican. I think I've done this before where I was like, I don't have a job now. I can finally focus on comedy. And it was probably the least productive time in my life because not having a job is really hard and scary. And making money from comedy is extremely hard and scary.
You
and
need
it's-
money to market an art career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is if you don't have a savings, right? Or a boyfriend who makes 3 times what you were making. I feel like I did that. I made like a fuck ton of money in a job I hated.
Yeah.
I bet I
Interesting.
made a lot of money. I saved like 30 grand. And so I quit that job, moved into my 1-bedroom apartment and was like, I'm giving this shit a go. I'm going to like write. I'm going to like focus. Cause I do understand as a creative, like some people can do the 9 to 5 and then still be creative. I always felt like I was giving my best energy
That's fair.
to the other job. And then I was drained and I was, so like my my either or is like be miserable in a 9 to 5 and not be creative, or be miserably broke but be creative. Like either way, there's some misery there. So, but that year that I took off, I would say like within 6 months, because of who I am and my talent, thank you, I got really far, and I like sold scripts and I did this and that. After that 6 month mark though, I was definitely struggling.
Yeah.
I was like, where do I go from here? I blew my savings in 2 years, and now I'm like, I have no savings. Now I'm actually making money like in the industry, but I am unable to save because it's all like 6 years in, you're still trying to figure it out. Like, this is an industry that doesn't happen in a year. So this woman is like, and also I just want to say that this guy never said she was actually funny. Like, is she actually funny? Is she talented?
The whole entire time I'm like waiting for, because there's a part of me that I'm like, even if this is like Eliza Schlesinger, Nikki Glaser, whatever in the future, you're like,
yeah,
he's not mentioning anything. Right. He's not like, but she's got that thing and I keep no, he's just like, look, she's got a dumb hobby. I got my own dumb stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But like at some point,
hobby?
Huh? No, I'm saying I'm coming from the perspective of the guy, you know.
Okay.
But realistically, it's like she's not planning for the future. She's not like, hey, you take care of me and then I'll make it with this thing or whatever. She's just like, you got us, right?
Yeah, and also open mics aren't always fruit. Like, you got to learn, because I mean, being in LA anyway, like I did open mics. For me personally, as someone who's not like stand-up comedian driven, so that's different.
Yeah.
But I was like, open mics I did for like 6 months, and it was, like sometimes I get home at 3 fucking a.m. and be like,
awful.
But at first I loved it because I was like, oh my God, there's all this new community. I'm meeting all these new people. Everyone's so funny and welcoming. And then I started to have bad experiences. I started getting pushed on the lineup when regulars were coming in and they just slide them in the slot. And then I started to experience the parts that I was like, maybe stand-up isn't like where I want to put all my focus. But then you find the mics that work for you and work for your schedule. Not all mics are at 11 p.m. Not all mics are all men. Like, you got to do the work to make it work for you. You can't just keep doing the same shit and being like, why isn't this working? Like, that's literally the definition of insanity.
Yeah, I think this is, she's putting a lot of weight on him. They've been together a long time. I think it's okay to do this with your life. I don't recommend it, though. I think this all-in mentality is very risky. And I think also a lot of people don't know, like, if you work a 9-to-5 job and you get to a point with it, you got to invest in it. You tend to get to a position where you could probably get a cushier job, or that role becomes more cushy. Like, good things can happen there. So I would never personally recommend that, but that's my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with her doing what she's doing, but the problem is she's putting all this extra weight on him. Now, I don't know if I said this last time we covered it, though, but I do think he went too far. And I think that at the same time, I can say it's not okay for an adult to put this on their partner. That's shitty of her. Yeah. And there was resentment growing. And I think she was probably a little blind to it. He needed to rein this in a lot sooner before we have to make an ugly, nasty comment like, you're never going to make it. Like, no, bro. You got to rein that in.
Yeah.
You know what? Can I play a little devil's advocate here?
Sure.
I find that with the arts, there's like people who are like, well, you never know. Who knows? People can get better. But if she was like a pool player, she was like, I do billiards all the time. And
similar numbers.
And you could see, you know, you can see every time she approaches a pool table, she can't even hit the cue ball. You know what I mean? Like, and she's been doing this for a year. She can still not hit the cue ball. At what point is it like not even mean to be like, you're never going to be in the Olympics for billiards?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it's false.
It's a false analogy, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that if you can't hit a cue ball after a year and you're that bad and that uncoordinated, something's wrong with you. And
I know, but there's
dude, I've seen people hard zero at open mics, and I've been like, that person has no insight. They are devoid of intelligence, and they should be taken outside and stand in traffic for subjecting me to their quote unquote jokes, which are actually just like racism.
And this is Danny's grace.
Years later, years later, I've seen those same people crush, and I've been like, wow, they really got it. They really got it.
I do also, I don't think these are mutually exclusive. I think part of the ways people get out of that complete slump is someone goes, hey, whatever you're doing right now is so bad. If I was drunk, it would make me sober.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That caught me off guard. Well, I mean, I think sometimes it does. I mean, I think some people are dense and they really can't learn. And I've also known people like that, or like some weird in between where it's like, bro, you're telling the same joke. I mean, I've done it. I'll tell the same joke for a year. And then I'm like, why am I so attached to this piece of trash? Like, what's wrong with me? But like,
I'm like, yeah, Danny.
Yeah, no, fuck off. Fuck off. You didn't hear my jokes that much.
kidding.
You're not a victim. I know, I'm kidding too. But like, yeah, dude, I don't know. I think it's like you can't know. You can't really know. You know, I mean, it's easy for us to say about comedy because we're so fluent in it. But like this guy isn't. And if I saw a painter and I was like, you call that a dog? That's horrible.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I think what he said was really nasty.
For sure.
You know, I think if he had said just this line of like, this is unfair to me while I bust my ass and you live in La La Land, that was clean. Because I'm like, yeah, she is kind of living in this unfair reality, which is fucking him over. But saying that firmly she'll never be a famous comedian, like... I don't know. He's kind of drawing blood there.
I don't think he's doing it out of like ire. I don't think he's like trying to hurt her. I think he's like, I'm one of the only people in your life that will tell you through this delusion that like you show no talent at this. You show no inkling that you're gonna have a future, whatever. And he's like, and I'm the one financing this, so I should be the one that's like at least delusional with you, and I'm not even a second.
I think it's hard to say that she'll never make it because of what you said. Like people do change, things
No, of
change.
course.
I think there's a lot of routes he could have done. I think they need to communicate more, first of all, because it's very clear that he said that out of built up resentment.
Yeah.
Without actually communicating each thing as it was happening. Like if you're telling her she has a year to do this thing, you got to give her the year. And throughout that year, if things are different, you express that and say, hey, actually, this is really hard for me. And, you know, I think the woman being like, if you don't go to my fucking open mics, that's whack. Like, that is where she loses me a little bit. And I don't want to give her as much grace because it's like, he's giving you the space to do your thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if you're trying to expect it to be his thing too, that's totally fucking different. Because if you want your thing to be his thing, then his thing becomes your things. And that's when you need to get a job.
And also, he's being brought to the open mic, so he's not just watching her.
Oh my gosh.
He's
horrible.
seeing other people like do what they're purporting to do. And then he's like, yeah, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only speaking from, I've seen enough like relationships and marriages break up because one of them decides it's time for to start open mics. I'm like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Sooner start an open relationship.
Yeah.
Good God. Top comment went NTA. People are flawed. You are frustrated taking care of a grown-ass adult who is content freeloading off you while she sleeps till noon and barely works part-time. Your anger boiled and you said some harsh things. If she wants to be a comedian, she can work a full-time job and make her dream a side gig, just like she would have to do if she had to pay her own big girl bills. It's been almost a year. Time to grow up and pay them bills. For me, it's not even an ultimatum. My partner would have to get a job that pays bills and have to rent, or we would be done. See, but I think what that ignores is if you let someone get away with something, you are kind of agreeing with it.
You're tacitly part of it.
You're what?
Tacitly part of it.
Yes. Right? Like if I start calling you Babu, which I have, it's fun to say, and you're letting me say it.
No, not at all.
You know? No. Well, he's agreeing that he implies by laughing and going with us, right? But like, I mean, if you told me like it's really angry, you know, I would say sorry to give it to you, but it would be like, how much can you really hold that against me?
For real,
like, come on. So I feel like. Okay, we'll read the dissenting comment. ESH, mostly her. Yeah, she's clearly not putting in her fair share, and your frustration over handling most of the expenses while she pursues her comedy venture is justified, but you really lost steam toward the end. While I realize you make some good points, that message got warped and you completely blew up and demeaned her.
Yeah.
And so I actually think I'm changing my verdict from when we covered this previously, because I have a new philosophy of everyone sucks here, which would normally be where I think I previously went. But I actually am at you're the asshole. Because...
To the OP?
Yes. Because my view of this is this situation is a bad situation right now. But in the wake of this conflict, he owes her an apology and he doesn't get one back. Not yet. Now he can say, I'm really sorry. What I said was wrong. And I do need changes. But for now, I want to focus on the fact that what I said was wrong and it was untrue and you might make it in comedy. And I'm sorry for what I said. And that to me has to be the first action to come out of this. He doesn't get to go like, and you need to acknowledge what you did to me. No, she doesn't. Not right now, bro, because you went for blood here. So I am actually at YTA.
I agree with that, honestly. Like, I get that he's frustrated, but what he said was an asshole thing. And I feel like maybe I do think it's in everything. Everyone sucks here just because she is clearly kind of being an asshole too. That's the only reason I don't want to say YTA, because I feel like she is kind of also being an asshole.
I agree, but in my frame of it, right? In my frame of it, she is being an asshole. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying in terms of actually resolving this conflict, the next move here is not for her to say sorry. He owes her an apology. Now she owes him some apologies, but like in the immediate wake of this, he has to.
Yeah, I guess Danny's
he has to do the next move. So that's my angle.
The big thing that he's fucked up is he's let a bunch of little things pile up without any communication, and he's just been like, "That's fine. I'll adjust, and then it's this big blow up ends up at the end.
This
where
is
he's right in the general sense, but the battle is not good.
Well, this is mirroring the situation I just realized where the girlfriend is chronically late. We covered that one. She's always late. And then eventually the boyfriend like tricks her into being late for her favorite concert on her birthday.
Yeah.
And then is like, fuck you did it to yourself, blah. And I'm like, yeah, in that situation, she has been an asshole, but like the boyfriend tacitly approved of that behavior and then had a blow up. And I'm like, yeah, and you had the blow up, so you need to own the blow.
Wow, people don't communicate. Like, learn how to say things in a joking manner. Is that passive aggressive?
A little, but I mean, it's better than nothing.
But in like a loving way, just like I like don't totally love this about you, but you do this thing.
It's one thing to joke.
That's such a good tool. I don't totally love this about you.
Yeah, that's pretty direct though.
It's direct, but it's like
softer than anything I've ever seen.
I think the joke I think can be like a little bit of a sleight of hand too, because you're kind of like passively aggressively calling it out. But I feel like sometimes people do that, but then don't actually stop the behavior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
but then it's you just what's it called? Like what's the word I'm looking for? When you like learn how to deal with something, like coping. Like it's a coping mechanism sometimes when people are like, oh, like this one guy was like, oh God, my wife literally always leaves her towels out. Like she puts the towel there. She leaves paper towels on the counter, like constantly using towels, leaving the towels there.
Towel girly. Right?
Towel girly. And then she passed away.
Oh, what? This story. What just happened there? What just happened there?
And now he misses the towel.
Yes. So he like wrote this book about how like some things you have to have conversations about, but when you're like being nitpicky about certain little things that are just like annoying, you should look at them as like, oh, I'm happy that I have this person who gets to do this stupid little thing versus like, I'm so pissed that she left her towels everywhere. It's so fucking annoying. It's like, oh no, this reminds me that I have like a beautiful wife who does silly shit.
Nice. What a turn you took us on there, though.
I don't know how that's relevant.
I like
to
how
this,
you sold her as beautiful. Like, well, she's beautiful.
This is beautiful.
Then. I guess we gotta deal with the towels.
Everyone's beautiful when they're dead.
We all get made up.
So where are you, Radu? Bring us out.
I think I think you convinced me on that behavior. The one caveat I'll give you is I don't think it's wrong. Maybe don't tell people they're not going to make it, but I don't think it's wrong to tell people they're not talented. I think it's totally acceptable to be like, hey, you try to shoot basketball and it won't go in the hoop. Mm-hmm. It's when they're objective things like that, everyone's like, that's not mean. If someone's like telling me like, hey man, you're not a bodybuilder, I'm like, what? Like, it's not a mean thing.
I'm with you. If he had said, it seems to me that you're not really applying a lot of focus.
Something like that.
And I think you're not having any progress. And I think
have you tried signing up for classes?
Yeah, well, so I think you are bombing. I mean, honestly, I agree with you, dude.
There's also there's so many indicators there. You could be like, hey, you might have the willingness, but you have no natural talent whatsoever. So you're gonna have to work 40 times as hard to be success. Is that what you want for you and us? Like,
see, you're getting away from objective though. I do think it's fair to say like, I think you're bombing up there.
Oh, sure.
That's an objective claim.
Yeah. I guess I am
bombing.
I guess I'm speaking kind of like a technician where I'm like, you can make it still, but you have to work even hard. Like I'm still looking for a silver lining there, but I'm like, even if you have no music knowledge, comedy knowledge, you're like, you know a hit and you know when something sucks. That's just how it works for everybody. And so there's something I empathize with the guy being like, I'm fucking working at some fucked up job.
I think my concern is, I think this is where I'm going by making it about painting it's really not your business. And I think you nailed that, Carla, because you're like, the open mics are her thing. It's not his business to opine on the quality of her comedy, really. It's his business to say, like, this is how this is negatively affecting me. You're asking too much of me. period.
Yeah, and if that's
You
something
know?
that bothers you enough, then you got to walk away from the relationship, not be like, stop doing the thing that you want to do.
Yeah, I see all relationships as a business a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like we're a unit. We're an LLC right now.
Yeah.
And then you've decided to make this massive shift. Okay, I'm supportive for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also different if you're married and you're like, okay, we've committed to figuring out life together
true, too.
versus
Yeah,
being
yeah.
boyfriend and girlfriend, where you're like, literally the point of being boyfriend and girlfriend is to see if this could be something.
But I think this whole thing where people are like, we're living together, we depend on each other's money or whatever, that's the same thing as being married. People,
yeah, it's very close.
people in our generation might not ever get the cloth ready and do stuff in the eyes of the Lord, but this is the same reason why you're getting married, to make two bills into one.
I agree. I just feel like getting into the mechanics and being a technician would be appropriate if you were you and OP was you, because you were an expert on comedy.
No, it's a guy putting his money in. He's talking about how he's like, I work hard. She used to make all this money, whatever.
But you wouldn't have these big opinions if your wife got into a subject you do nothing about.
I would if I could tell. Like, I don't know anything about helicopters, right? I'm borrowing
Sure.
from my friend
All right,
Steve.
let's go with that.
If every time my wife got in the helicopter simulator, she crashed into a tree
Yeah.
for a year, and I'm paying for it, I'd be like, hey, Toots, guess what? You suck at helicopter. And that's maybe coming off harsh, whatever, but it's still
Right.
ultimately in this place of love. Because for some reason, she's got this blind spot where she's like, no, I'm going to be a helicopter pilot. I
Yeah.
know I am.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's fair. I guess it could go either way. I mean, I do think it's a time to keep it real, but I think it's staying within your domain. I think if you said, it doesn't seem to me like you're proficient with the helicopters. That feels
that could be
reasonable.
nicer.
Yeah.
Feels
Then
reasonable.
you're never going to fly Kobe around.
right.
Definitely
Well, that's
never
not
gonna fly
objective.
me.
You're never going to be able to learn. It's like, okay, well, that's not
Yeah,
reasonable.
yeah.
Stupid people fly helicopters too soon. Oh my God. Oh my God.
It'll always be too soon.
It will always be too soon. AITA for telling my girlfriend she needs to get a real job and she'll never be a famous comedian. Carla's going ESH. We're going YTA. Always a classic. Guys, thanks for joining me. This was really fun.